Hey kids, did you ever want to work on your right hand technique? Maybe make your right hand technique a little cleaner, a little more efficient, a little more accurate? Here are some very good beginner studies, or pretentious music teachers, we like to call them etudes, um, to work on your right hand and the mechanics of playing single note pick style. So I'm going to just go ahead and come in. I'm just going to play open strings because I want to just focus on the movement of the pick and how you hold it. Okay, so there are a lot of different ways you can hold a pick, but the official way, I can't do quotes without both hands. Okay, fine. The official way, which comes from mandolin players and other type styles of those kinds of lutes, is that you actually hold the pick on the side of your index finger, as opposed to holding it with the tip of your finger. A really good thing to do with it is actually hold it on the side. It's really stable that way, and you can actually bring the pick closer into your axis of movement, which is your wrist. And the closer it is to that axis, the more it resembles that speed, and the more efficient the motion is. So for strumming, you might hold it further out, but for fast picking, you might want to bring it closer in. But the general gist of it, for starters, is you're going to hold it on the side. So one thing that I often tell students is to sort of pretend like you're going to arm wrestle, and then just put the pick on the side of your finger like it's the other player's thumb and trap it. And that's basically how you hold a pick. It's not, you're holding with the side of the finger right there rather than the pad of the finger right there. So, and the thing that this does for us is that we can have then the pick takes on the angle of your forearm, so you can get just a slight angle to the strings, and it helps the pick slide across the strings this way. Okay, I'm just going to show you now two techniques. One is actually first just a downstroke, rest stroke, and I'm using a little bit of rotation like this, like turning the key in a lock, where I'm actually, on the downstroke, I'm rotating in, and on the upstroke, I'm rotating out, just like that. And I'm a little bit leaning, I should say, on my pinky finger, or you could, if you like, you could put your pinky finger on the pick guard of your guitar. Because the idea of this particular method, this technique for picking, is that your hand is slightly supinated, which means it's rotated towards palm up. It's slightly supinated in this case. We're not going all the way palm up, but the only way I can remember supinated is more soup, right? So if you're slightly supinated, i.e. rolled towards the pinky, what happens is after this upstroke, the pick will come out from the plane of the strings, and it's free to move from other strings. So this is a good technique when you're going to change strings after that upstroke. Down, up, down, up. But for now, for today, all I want you to practice is a little rest stroke down and a free stroke up. Rest stroke down, free stroke up. Rest stroke down, free stroke up. You can turn it into a little rhythmic movement, and you want to just take advantage. I like, especially in the beginning, to take advantage of these rest strokes because you can bounce off the string like you're bouncing a ball. And then you can move pretty fast in what we call tremolo picking. But this is the beginning to building that. And just start slow and with care. And maybe practice doing some slow ones, so you're paying attention to each stroke, and then see if you can make the upstroke bounce. So you go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, like that. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Right. You can try it on any one of your strings. I'm playing pretty loud, so it's buzzing a little bit. But you can play softer too. But that bounce gives you a little bit. You can take advantage of the momentum. Okay, I want to show you the inverse of this too, which is if this was supination before rolled towards the pinky side, we're going to roll a little bit towards the thumb side for a different technique for picking. Whereas as opposed to as before we were rotating like a key in a lock, now we're actually going to move the wrist. We're going to still have a little bit of that rotation, but we're going to move the wrist from side to side. This is called deviation. You're moving your wrist from side to side towards the pinky, leaning it, and then leaning it up towards the thumb side, and then leaning it. And if you notice, my wrist, it bends pretty far towards the pinky side, but it really doesn't bend that far. It bends a little bit towards the thumb side. So the middle, rather than being straight, is a little past straight, almost where this line is straight, because I want to take advantage of the middle of my range of motion. Because this is what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to do the opposite, which is, instead of before, the pick was going to come out from the strings and be free. I'm going to a rest stroke down and a free stroke up. Now I'm going to do a rest stroke up and a free stroke down. And the motion is just a little bit different. I'm going to do a little bit of that deviation and then let it go. Deviation, let it go. Deviation, let it go. And I really like that rest phase. It's like a lot of great classical guitar exercises where there's a rest phase. So you act and then you rest. And you can see there's a little bit of rotation. I'm rotating a little bit, but I'm mostly using this deviation, and I'm kind of hanging my hand to get that. And same thing we did before. You can start with up and then down, up and then down, up and then down, and then bounce like you're bouncing a ball off the ceiling. Oops, not like that, but like this. So you go up, down, and that down is a rest phase. You're kind of relaxing into gravity. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, like that. Up, down, up, down. And just try it on different strings. You'll note the position of my hand, and I'm somewhat exaggerating this. I would do this a little bit differently depending on the circumstances. But you'll notice that this part of my thumb right there is actually touching the bass strings. And that's okay. I'm just exaggerating this position a little bit so you can get the hang of it. So it's two motions. A rest stroke down and a free stroke up, more supinated. And then more pronated, a rest stroke up and a free stroke down. I'll just give a shout out to Troy Grady and the people at Cracking the Code, who have done a lot to enlighten a lot of guitar players about the mechanics of picking, and a lot of the ways that I'm doing this. I've gotten some really good, interesting information from his channel. So if you want to check out his channel on YouTube too, it's really awesome. I just sort of made it my own a little bit, but that's where a lot of this information comes from. If you're on time and in tune, you're okay.